Ladies and gentlemen, Mixing Masterclass, first episode. I am your host, David Perzina. We are on air with Jeff Tretta of Blue Exit Audio, located here in
Hello.
Mesa, fabulous Mesa, Arizona. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Thanks
you
for
are
coming by, man.
my first guest.
Sweet.
First
Excited.
guest. I'm very excited too, and I really appreciate you taking the time to sit
Yeah.
down with me and let me pick your brain and
Absolutely.
and ask you about your journey
Sure.
here as an audio engineer. You're an audio engineer, that's correct?
Audio engineer, music producer,
I think so.
all the above.
looks like you do something like that with what's behind you there.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting started in this mixing masterclass endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what we are trying to create is a channel that gives out information and does not gatekeep the information. I
Okay.
feel like there is a gatekeeping situation amongst engineers, like,
Yeah. There was a thing back in the old days where if you would go into a studio, they would have blankets over all their outboard gear, so you couldn't see their settings and what they were doing. I don't think people are like that anymore, but I'm sure there's still some guys that keep things
oh, they're out there.
very much, close to the hip, if you will.
They're out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, with just one call to Jeff here, he was like, yeah, come on in and interview me. And here I am
Sure.
at his fabulous studio. It's a 2-room situation. He has the live room and he has the control room, and he is very isolated. Tell me about the isolation in here.
This room was, when I moved in here, this was just a big, giant, open room. And a good buddy and myself built this. In the live room, we built a 2-inch gap around the entire room that was originally there. Insulated it with about 2 inches of drywall. Actually, it might be more than that. And then I built all the paneling. It moves a lot, just depending on how I'm feeling that year and what I think sounds better. Like a month ago, the drums were in the corner. I did a recording, I didn't like it, so I moved them back to the middle, but it's always changing.
So what inspired you to start Blue Exit Audio, and most particularly in Mesa?
And I'm basically from Mesa. I've been here since I was a child. So I originally wanted to start being an engineer just because I was in a band, like most musicians are. You're in a band and recording's too expensive. So you just kind of figure, oh, we should try this ourselves. That was kind of my situation. The reason I really got into it was I always had an interest for recording because my dad was a recording engineer when I was younger. He used to work for a radio station, like dubbing CDs and other playlists for different radio stations around. So when I was growing up, we had gear in the house, not necessarily recording gear, but like a lot of old radio gear and EQs and stuff like that. And he would let me play with them. So I kind of just got into audio and pushing buttons kind of a long time ago.
Okay. Give me a second here, because now that you bring up that history, let me see if I can find it.
Is that my Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Sure is. I did my little research. Another one.
What are you
It's
looking for?
that picture of, and I believe it's you and your father, and he's sitting at the keyboard.
That's actually my uncle.
That's your uncle.
That's
Okay.
my uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, he was
So you come from a family of music.
family of musicians. Most Trettas play an instrument. At least my generation of Trettas all played instruments. So
And
I
your
grew
dad was the guy who was like, he probably played too.
Dad played drums.
Okay, but he was the guy who's like, hey, I got my brothers and sisters. I got to make sure they sound good.
Not really. I mean, he worked for a radio station at the time doing that, but I always had access to instruments and loudspeakers, basically.
Okay.
I started playing guitar when I was like 10 years old. So, yeah, it's always been like this evolving thing of making sounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your and by the way, I can relate to that because my father is also a producer and
cool.
and keyboard player. So it's kind of, runs in the family over here too. That's where I kind of jumped in
Nice.
eventually as well.
Uh-huh.
Tell me though, what was your very first setup like?
My very first setup,
Yeah,
I mean,
so people
like
can
my
really
actual
know.
first setup was when I was, freshman in high school, I think. Maybe earlier than that. Anyways, how old are you?
I'm 41 on the 19th.
Okay, so you know what this is. So back in the day, you'd had those stereos that were just like stacks of different things on each
Yep,
other, and
yep,
they had the two tape decks.
yep.
So I figured out that I could multi-track with
Yes.
the two tape decks. I would record on one thing, and then I would take that tape out, go flip it to that side, put the other tape back in, record again, flip it over. So by the time you were done, like I could
You were
add
doing
drums.
mixes. Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
you
much.
could basically just overdub on different
Sampling.
things.
Yeah.
But by the end, the thing was so hissy, just because you kept going over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
it, that it sounded awful. But that was like my first thing that I
Wow.
did was that I had a single microphone and I would put it over a drum kit, and then I would record, and then I would take that same microphone and put it next to my guitar amp, and without anybody really showing me, oh, this is how you do it. That's just kind of I was like, well, the sound's there, so I need to put the mic there, and that was just basically it. So I recorded probably two or three just really crappy things of my own songs, and like I carried it around with me, my own Walkman, and I would always listen to it, just so like baffled that I made this thing. It sounded
Right.
terrible, but it was just like, wow, I made this thing myself, my own recording. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's crazy. I wasn't expecting that answer.
Uh-huh.
And I bet most people were expecting like, oh, I had a little Focusrite with a
No,
little. And he said
I had nothing.
no.
I had nothing like that. It was a while before I bought anything. My second, like, I guess rig in a way was I had somebody gave me a copy of a program called Cakewalk, and it was just a dinky little recording program, had zero power, zero
Yeah.
nothing. But I figured that I was in a band at the time, and we had a Radio Shack realistic mixer. It had like four inputs. I think one of them was busted. But I found out that I could come out the headphone jack, and that would give me enough volume that I could go into the input of my computer and record into Cakewalk. And then at that point, I could use multiple microphones and record it into an actual computer. And without even buying anything, like I had microphones, just because my brother was in a band at one point, so I stole some of his microphones. I was probably in a band at that point, so we just like acquired micro. I don't even know where the microphones came. I don't think I ever bought a microphone until I was in my 20s.
Okay.
But I just found things and had things, and I would just again do the same thing, miking a guitar amp, just putting it up to it, or drums. I would have like I didn't even know I should mic the kick drum. I just put one over my head and one on the side, and I was like, all right, that's it. And that's what I recorded. And I made a bunch of demos that way too. Again, like before I even had stuff, I was just like figured out what I could grab and what I could use and what would work, and then that was just it.
Yeah,
That's what
with
I
you
did.
with you talking about that, it kind of brings me back too. So I can also relate because if someone were to ask me, I probably would have forgot that part of my journey, which was the old Tascams.
I used to have one of those, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they had the burnable CD thing.
Oh, I didn't have anything.
This was 2005,
That
so
was fancy when I just
we
had
were
a
a little
tape.
fancier in 2005, but
Yeah.
all it was DI.
Uh-huh.
You plug the guitar straight in.
Mm-hmm.
A Shure microphone we used for the vocals, and then we had to mix it down on that too, because then you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
put it right on the CD. So
I remember those things. Yeah.
engineers these days, unless they have an older peer, right,
Mm-hmm.
they probably have never messed around with things like that.
It's so easy for people to record now. They have stuff in your phone that I've heard people use, and I'm like, you did that on your phone?
Oh yeah,
And they're like, yeah, they
yeah,
have multi-track recording on your phone.
yeah,
You can get a little iRig interface, plug it in, and you can do like a full recording on your phone, tracking, mixing, and everything, even
right,
effects. It's
yep,
absolutely insane.
right.
So yeah, kids don't know the struggles.
Definitely.
No,
W-
finding tapes, and then like I would find tapes that I didn't like, and then tape over the top of them so you could re-record on them, and then I would just dub over whatever that
yep,
was, just
yeah,
so I had tapes to
yeah.
record on.
I would do that off the radio.
I
when
did
I
that too.
wanted songs.
I did that too.
You know, make my own. That's the whole playlist
Sit
right
there
there.
all day and wait
Yeah.
for your song to
Wait for
come
the
on,
song to
and
come on.
then hit it. Hopefully, it sounds good. I
Oh,
always found out when I did that, and I tried to like play the songs like on my guitar. I would try to learn them after the fact. I always found that they sounded different from the CD because they were pitched up or down depending on the radio station. So I would learn a song, and then I would like eventually get the CD, and then thinking I knew how to play it, and I would sit down, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the wrong key. What happened to the song? So yeah, I just think different playbacks kind of messed it up, but a weird thing you find out from ripping things off the radio.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's. I'm glad you're my. Not to age you or anything,
that's
but
fine. I'm
I'm
40.
glad you're the first one because it's like it is easier these days. You know, things are far more advanced, and
Mhm.
the DAWs are crazy. Their functionalities. You have endless amounts of just ability to be able to do it in a more cleanlier way.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Yeah, which is great because people have access to create whenever they want, but I think struggling to create makes a better creation,
Right.
if you know what I mean. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Especially after the last 7 years of learning mixing myself.
Yeah.
I noticed you really like to help out the indie artists. You talk about it and mention that a lot on
Mhm.
your platform there on
Mhm.
Instagram. What drove you to focus on the indie creators and content makers?
It's just more fun for me. Well, like, so when you're starting out, you have to work with a lot of bands that aren't as experienced. So any engineer will say, yeah, they had to work with those kind of bands for the longest time, making them sound a lot better than they are, reamping their stuff, cutting their drums up, pitching everything, and taking just hours and hours and hours of time to make this band that wasn't that great sound bigger than life. So just some people like go away from that at some point. I still enjoy doing that. I enjoy the editing process, and at the end of the day, you have this band of, let's say, teenagers, and you give them a product and their mind is just completely blown, and all they want to do is promote me, and they want to promote themselves because they're so excited. I love working with bands that are well seasoned too because the process is easier, 10 times easier. Mixing is easier. Everything is easier just because they know how to play. They typically have good instruments that have been well kept and stay in tune, and they can play to a click and all that good stuff. But I really like the reaction that you get from younger bands or bands that aren't that experienced when they hear like their first mix for the first time for me, and they're just like, holy shit, like what the fuck is this? This is amazing. What have you done? So that's like a drug to me is seeing them light up and are just so in awe about something that I did for them.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you think about it because especially when they're starting out, they might not have the experience like you're saying. They might improperly tune their drum head, right? And
They,
so
they can't afford new heads or their guitar. I've had so many bands that I'm like, when was the last time you changed your guitar strings? They're like,
yeah,
2 years ago. It's like,
not since
okay,
I got it.
yeah, and that's just they just don't think about it or they don't have the money. I mean, I don't really
So
know.
even and aside from that, maybe yeah, it's a bad drum head, or maybe they didn't tune it properly.
Hmm.
But I think for me, I'm a very technical geeky. Like I'll pull up the snare on
Hmm.
an EQ and see make sure that it's what note it's hitting at.
Hmm.
And if it's not in tune with the song,
Hmm.
I'm pitching that sucker so that it's in tune. Are you doing things like that?
Sometimes I will do stuff like that, not all the time, because I mean, if you go down the producer rabbit hole, it's endless. I mean, there's stories of, um, Blink 182, their record, I think it was their self titled one. They spent weeks like comparing mic cables on which mic cables sound the best, and then the best mic for that mic cable, and then the
Mm-hmm.
best guitar cabinet for that mic for that cable. And they just went down this crazy rabbit hole. Don't get me wrong, that record sounds phenomenal, but like, I mean,
Time
sometimes you just want the
consuming
band to sound like the band. So
and time consuming.
yeah, and which is fine. I mean, if a band has endless budget and they want to do that stuff, great. Why not? But for me, I really want the band to sound like themselves, and not saying that if they come in with like a crappy drum set, I'm going to be like, well, that's what you got. That's what we're using. Because I do have my own kit and I keep it well maintained that they can use. But if they're very adamant, like this is my drum kit, this is what my band sounds like, this is their equipment, and this is their sound, I have no problem recording on
Right.
their amps, their guitars, their drums, and at the end of the day, giving them something that they're super proud of because it sounds like them. Of course, if a band wants to sound above and beyond, then it's like, okay, well, then we're using this and we're using my kit and we're going to take the time to tune and all that stuff.
Makes sense.
And any like drummers I've talked to, like I have a couple of good buddies that are drummers, and I'm like, do you ever tune to the song? Like, and most of the time they're like, no. I mean, that's cool.
Well, you'd be tuning, especially in a live setting when you're performing. Then you'd be stopping to tune.
Well,
If you have different keys of every song, you'd be stopping to tune every time.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a cohesion that happens if you tune the drums to the song, but like, who cares?
Off key can sound cool.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like records
well.
were done for years that weren't in tune.
Right.
Go back to a Beatles record. You think they were in tune with the song? No, of course they weren't.
Right.
They were just really good songs, and nobody cared. No one would ever say, "Hey, that snare sounds like it's in tune with that song." Ever. They would just be like, "Oh, that snare sounds cool." I mean, that's the typical thing.
Exactly. It's a sound.
Yeah.
I definitely have gone down the rabbit hole, Jeff, for the last 7 years. I've gotten too technical and tried to get too much of a science behind it. So for the last year, I've made sure I stepped away from that, using my ear a heck of a lot more, and just whatever sounds cool. I've played in key a lot, right? Because I've learned theory and I play a lot of my own patterns when it comes to the beats I make.
Sure.
I might drop a few here and there loops, but I now have another system within my machine DAW and my machine drum machine that gives me chord sets, chords that work together that might not even all be in the same key. And they just work together. And they sound good together. And so I'm stepping outside of the technical stuff. Whatever sounds good, man.
That's really what it is. If you get into the nitty gritty of like someone saying, well, we used a Neumann U87 on this song and everything is tuned perfectly to the song. At the end of the day, like, is it a good song? Like, it could be a shitty song, but thank God we got that snare in the key. Like, who cares? Like, nobody cares.
Is there a vibe? Is there an emotion? Does it make people feel? No? Well, then.
Yeah. Spend less time making sure everything's in key, like, of course, like, the instruments need to be, but, like, as far as the drums and stuff like that, like, first off, is it a good song? Because that's really what matters. You can mix all you want. You can pick whatever gear you want, but, like, going back to the Beatles, those weren't good recordings. If you listen to them today, to today's standards, they're terrible recordings.
Right.
The songs are phenomenal. Nobody cares that this recordings are bad. Nobody cares. Yep. Not even a little bit.
They're humming. People hum the melodies.
Exactly.
So that's really what it comes down to.
That is what matters. Write a good song. Don't worry about all the nitty-gritty stuff. Like, write a good song. It'll be easier to mix. It'll be easier to sound great. People will like it more, regardless of the mixing or techniques. Just write a good song. That's really it.
I'm glad you go there with that, because that can lead me into that, the composition, the arrangement, the voicings can make your job easier.
10 times. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having a band that knows what they want, or an artist that knows what they want when they come in. They have like a clear path of where we're going with this. That only makes my job easier as a producer and an engineer, because it just fuels me more to figure out where they're trying to go and how I need to get them there, basically. So, I mean, yeah, having an idea of, well, I want to sound like this, and then we can figure out what that is and try to find it, whether it's a synth sound or a drum sound or whatever. Direction is great. Yeah, absolutely.
If they're writing it, like, let's say one guitar is playing on the downbeat and the other guitar is playing on that same downbeat and not hitting in any of the up pockets,
Mm-hmm.
they're right away. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be struggling to get them each their own presence. But if they're
Yeah.
selective with their pockets, that's kind of what I'm going at compositionally.
Yeah.
That can really help enhance a song for
Uh-huh.
one, the
Uh-huh.
rhythms,
Uh-huh.
and then two, make it easier to have separate presence in the track for the two instruments.
And that's a good point. I am a very firm believer of a rhythm section and a lead section. My first question when I sit a band down, and my first question is usually to the bass player, saying, "Are you a bass player or are you a guitar player that plays bass?" And they say, "Well, I'm a bass player." Then my second question is, "Okay, do you play with the drums or do you play with the guitars?" "Oh, I play with the guitars." "Okay, so you're a guitar player that plays bass."
Yeah.
A bass player would. My idea of a bass player is you give the drums notes. That is your job.
Yes,
Give the
yes,
drums
yes,
notes.
yes, yes,
Stay
yes.
with the drums.
Play the
Same
rhythm.
thing with the rhythm guitar player. You should be also complimenting the rhythm
drummer.
section.
Yes.
Lead, like, yes, stay on time, but you will have a little bit more free will to hit those areas that aren't quite in the pocket, as you said.
Okay, yeah.
And that will make something sound so much more cohesive when mixing.
Yeah.
Having said that, if the band's natural nature is to sound like a fucking massacre, great, let's record that.
Yeah,
Like,
let's all just play at the same time.
yeah, let's all play different and whatnot, which I've had a lot of bands do that, where the bass player plays the guitar and they're not all quite on time and they're just doing their thing. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, this actually sounded really cool. Was that easier for me to mix and find space for everybody? No.
No.
But that's not their job. That's my job to figure
True.
out
True.
where everything needs to fit in the mix.
True,
Yes, if they listened to me and recorded it the way that I want it to be recorded, then yeah, it would make my job like that. That's my job here the entire time, is to kind of like, hey, when I get to mixing, I need you guys to like kind of do it like this so it's easier. But at the end of the day, it's their product and it's my job to make it sound good.
Well, and also, even though I brought up, compositionally playing in different pockets,
Yeah.
you're going to lose syncopation if you're doing that, too.
Uh-huh.
So, like you're saying, it's your job to make it cleaner. Make sure y'all have your syncopated moments, too. And
Sure.
I'll take care of that.
Yeah. And like I said, even if it's not syncopated and that's just their sound, it's not your job to tell them otherwise. It's just your job to record it and make it sound good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If someone has never recorded before, can you walk them through a session at Blue Exit Audio from recording to final mix?
Yeah. I mean, typically, big thing is just be in the studio, is just being a good hang and being able to hang out with somebody for hours or weeks at a time. So the first thing I do is I have a band in and we sit down and we just talk. And I get to know them, they get to know me. They ask me a bunch of questions about the gear. I explain my recording process, and we just see if it works. And then my literal last question to them is like, okay, so just let me know if I'm a guy that you want to spend 8 hours a day in a room with. And because I can record the band, that's no problem. But like, am I your guy, basically?
Right.
Do you want to be in here with me? Do you trust me to take your music and give it back to you mixed and ready to go? That's the biggest thing. Because I've had some sessions where it's, if the vibe isn't good, the recording is probably not going to be great, just because people aren't feeling it. And then I may not care about it as much just because maybe the guitar player's a dickhead or something. I don't know.
Right.
Not that I've had any dickhead guitar players, but
Or vice versa. They might think Jeff is
they might
just
think I'm an asshole. Yeah, they might. Hopefully there's not too many bands that think that, but they could. I don't know.
So far, so good, Jeff.
Yeah,
I think
so
you're a
far
good
so
guy.
good. But yeah, that's step one, is just like, are we going to vibe together in the studio? Is this going to be a good, healthy, happy situation when you're here? Once they say yes, then then I give them homework. Basically, I say, okay, well, everyone has to know how to play to a click track. Everybody. If you say you can't, don't come back until you can, because that gives me the ability to put your stuff on a grid and fix it if I need to. It makes any time-based processing and effects so much easier. It makes copying and pasting easier. Should we do stuff like that, it just makes everybody's job so much easier. That is the big number one. Number two is you guys need to have instruments that work and play well, meaning don't wait 2 years to change your strings.
Right.
New strings, new heads, no cracks in your cymbals. If you're using any of my gear, let me know beforehand so I can get it set up, restrung, new heads, whatever we need to do to get you. So just like a lot of homework for them to do at home to get ready for the session. I have a whole printout of these are the heads you should get. This is what you do before you sing. This is the place you should go for a guitar setup and all this stuff. That would when they come in, then we're ready. So it's
and
like
you're getting the performance tracks you need
exactly
so
exactly.
that it's a simpler, we won't say easy, but simpler process for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just so I know what to expect on day one, and we're not wasting any time because the studio is expensive, and I try to do whatever I can to get them through the process as quick as possible with the best recordings they possibly can. So we do a lot of prep, like so if we're starting with drums on a Saturday, I need the drums dropped off to me by Friday night. So the drums can sit here and acclimate to my room a bit because it's a bit colder down here because it is a basement. And then I tune everything for them. I set up the microphones. That way when they come in on Saturday, it's just like, all right, here we go. We're ready to record, no setup. So it makes just the process easier. After that, we're recording drums. Then we're recording bass. Then we're recording rhythm guitar. Then we're recording lead guitar. Then we're doing vocals. Then we're doing an effects day, which effects meaning adding little things in the background that are just textures and layers of stuff and percussion and stuff like that.
You like the artists here when you're doing those effects and things like that?
Yeah. Wherever they can guide me. Because I've found that if the artist isn't here and maybe I go down a rabbit hole of effects and I'm like, ooh, I did this really cool thing.
It's what you might like, but
yeah, I've spent hours on some things and I give it to the band. They're like, yeah, we don't like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah. That happens a lot. So having them here to either guide you before they leave or with a concrete, like this is what we want to do. And then as we're recording, I'm giving them like roughs of what we're doing and our progress. And a lot of the times they'll like the reverb that I'm using on the rough already. And I'll just make sure I incorporate that into the mix or something like that. But it's just about communication, really.
I like that because, I was an artist before I was a producer engineer. And I always felt like you're charged when you walk through the door, and none of what you just described was ever handled previous.
And that, you know what I mean? I found a lot of places are like that, where there's not a whole lot of communication prior and there's not a whole lot of prep for when the band comes in or the artist comes in, that when they first walk in, they know you already. You've already built a rapport and stuff is set up and ready to go for them. It's again, it's all about the vibe and coming in, because nobody wants to come in, set up their drums, wait for me to mic everything, and then play.
Right.
Like that sucks. Why would they want to sit here and do that? So I just charge like a flat fee. I'm like, flat fee, it's $75. I'll set up what I need to for you, and when you come in the next day, you're fresh. All you gotta do is show up and sit down and start playing. Yeah, which is great.
That's cool.
Yeah, recording with me is just just a lot of
worth it to shop with Blue Exit Audio, people, just on that basis alone. I, as an artist, through the years of going to different studios, never has that prep work been involved. So
yeah,
that's a bonus over here with Jeff. Hybrid workflow. Okay, we got in the box, we got analog, right? And when you bring them together, the terminology is hybrid.
Hybrid, yeah.
What does that mean in real world terms, and why is it something that, from what I got off your Instagram, it's what you like to apply to yours?
Hybrid workflow is basically flipping from analog to digital, using not just a computer by itself to do everything, but using gear that has circuits and capacitors in it to color the sound and give you something unique to yourself. No piece of gear sounds like another piece of gear. They all sound different. So that's the idea of hybrid workflow, is you're adding different colors into stuff by using actual hardware and circuits and electricity. Rather than in the computer, when you pull up a plugin, it's always going to sound like that. It is
Transparent.
always going to sound like that every single time. But like my preamps, I can make them sound 10 different ways just by turning that knob a little bit. For me, my hybrid workflow is analog in, mixing in digital, and then summing in analog again, and then of course printing in digital.
Okay.
So it goes through a few phases, so I can get what I want with the analog gear, and then utilize the digital side of it to make things easier, and then spit it back out to analog.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. That's something I don't have capability of, but when I think about that process, it makes a lot of sense because you want a certain texture to begin with, and you can get that through your analog gear. Then you step into your digital world and get your effects or whatever you want through that, and then warming those up again.
Yeah,
how you would like.
exactly. I mean, having said that, there are Grammy records out there, out the wazoo, that are all done in the computer. They just are. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's really about just figuring out your workflow and what works for you. For me, I wasn't getting what I needed in the computer, and that's probably just a lack of knowledge on my end, because I've got good buddies that mix in the box, and their mixes are phenomenal. For me, I just wasn't getting it from analog, and our mixes are very much right up next to each other. They're just better at utilizing the tools they have in the digital realm, and I really like what the analog does. One is not better than the other in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Just whatever works for you. My
preference.
analog workflow can be a pain in the ass because I have to recall. I have a little recall sheet that I have to go into, and I have to bring up, because I use a couple of analog pieces of gear, compressors and a SSL Fusion, that anytime I'm working with a new track, I have to go in and recreate them,
Tweak.
and then to the next track, do the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm done with it and they call me a month later for recalls saying, oh, hey, we really want that vocal up a little bit, then I have to go back and redo it all again. And it's analog gear, so it could sound different. There's an old story, I forget who it was. I want to say it's like Bob Clearmountain or something like that. But he always had to print his mixes at a certain time of day because the electrical grid around him was particularly better that day. And I remember there was a story about how he printed a mix not at that time, and the mastering engineer called him and said, hey, what time did you print that mix yesterday? And he's like, I was like 3 o'clock. He's like, it sounds different. Can you print it at 5? Just because the grid in the city sounded different at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, and it runs on circuits, It's so luckily, I mean, it's never like do you know like what phase cancellation is?
A little bit.
Okay. So basically, every waveform has a phase, a faction and rarefaction. If it's opposite that, then you will get phase cancellation.
Right.
So
if the wave's going up, the instrument that you're aligning with it should also be up in that same pocket.
Or just anything in general. Yeah. So with my analog gear, I can print something and then reprint it again and put those on top of each other and flip the phase of the second one, and I won't get full cancellation just because the analog gear does sound different every single time you do it.
Okay.
And the way it reacts. If it was digital and I printed digital and put the same waveform under it and cancel the other one, it would be dead silent because it would cancel it 100%. But yeah, analog works a bit differently. Those needles don't move the same every single time. They're just different. So
that does some recall.
Yes. Yeah.
Where you're having to redo things if they're not how they need to be.
Yeah, so that's kind of the pain in the ass of analog stuff, is having to recall for mixes and stuff like that. But that's just part of what I do, and I'm happy to do it. It's just a bit of a pain in the ass.
I think regardless of whether it's a pain in the ass and regardless of whether someone has a preference for one over the other, I feel that a lot of people that work in the box, myself being one of them, are missing out on a whole other world of color.
Yeah, you're missing out on the world of just different sounds, because Analog plugins now that create saturation and color are great. They're so good.
Okay.
Like a lot of the stuff that they have out there is so good. Like one of the best saturators is by Crane Song. It's called Phoenix. It's a phenomenal saturator. Does it sound better than like natural saturation of like a tube preamp? No, it sounds different. So one's not better than the other. You have like, I always try to tell people when it comes to like plugins and stuff like that, don't buy a new compressor plugin until you know everything that your current compressor plugin can do.
Yeah, I made that mistake.
Yeah, just because they all
Learn how to
basically
use
do.
a compressor.
Yeah, you use like the Pro Tools Bomb Factory B76 plugin.
Right.
It comes with Pro Tools.
Yeah.
It sounds phenomenal. It's a great compressor, especially on kick and snare. It sounds phenomenal.
You got to use
But
it right.
everyone's gonna buy the Universal Audio version because it looks pretty, and it's new and
Or
whatnot.
it's what
But like,
everybody else buys. Or
exactly, just because they all think, well, this is gonna make me better. It's like, no, it's not. It's
No.
still a 76. They sound different, but get to know this one. And if you're not getting out of it what you need, then yeah, try something that's different. Not necessarily better, but different. But you might be surprised that you can get the same thing with this. I have so many plugins in my computer because I had that mindset forever a long time ago of, oh, I need to buy this because it's going to make me better, mixer or whatever.
what makes you better is working with less, in my opinion, too. And I
Yeah.
didn't do that at first. And working with, let's say, the functionality of what a compressor does.
Yes.
And it's not a new compressor that's going to help you be better at compression. It's knowing how to use a compressor.
Exactly. And getting a good sound out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't ever go down the wormhole of buy this, because they have a lot of automatic plugins, like AI plugins now that, like they have this one called Soothe. I use it a lot, and I know a lot of guys that use it a lot. It sounds great. It sounds absolutely great. Can you do the same thing with a multi-band compressor? Yeah, you can. Is it a bit more work? Yeah. Is it the same thing? Yeah. But, Soothe costs, I forget what it costs.
We won't even promote that.
Yeah, but you can get a multi-band compressor for cheap, and like you can get it pretty close.
Agree with you 100%. It can be a little stressful when you're having to dial in on each frequency manually, but same effect, and you're learning more.
Yeah, and it's good to have the convenience of plugins, because I have a couple that are so convenient to have, and they do a great job. Do I have 18 other plugins that also do that? Yes, I do.
Should we?
I mean, it's your money. If you want to buy more stuff, like I love using different plugins, but I go through my list now and just look at things that I paid so much money for 10 years ago that like, oh yeah, I don't even use that anymore, when I could. And sometimes I'll rehash little plugins and go, this is great. Why am I not using this?
Do it all the time.
Yeah.
That's been more of my workflow recently.
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, you're just using the same plugins. Different plugins are gonna have different colors too, and it's like, come on, man, just go use something you haven't used for a while, and mess with that one for a while. Like you're saying, mess with it for a while.
Get to know every inch of it.
Get to know all of your plugins. Spend time first with as few plugins as possible that do what they need to do, and learn how to use those.
Sure.
And when you get a new plugin, spend time with it.
Spend a ton of time learning how to use it. You may even not like it after you use it for a while.
True.
That happens too. I'll get this badass thing, and I'm like, this isn't that great.
Yes, agree with you 100% that even the most basic plugin too can do what you need to do if used the right way. For someone starting at home, what's one affordable mic interface or plugin that you would recommend? Just one.
Interface or plugin?
Any one of the three, mic interface or plugin. Just starting.
I use all Universal Audio stuff, just because it's so user friendly. It comes with plugins,
Yep.
which is great. I mean, the plugins that come with it are phenomenal. You get a
It's also
Pultec.
hybrid
It's hybrid.
with the control room.
Uh-huh. And even if you got a twin, you can expand it because it has ADAT, so you can get I think 8 more inputs into it just by
Okay.
expanding that, and that's a whole drum set. Like you would have enough to do a whole band and record everything that you need to just on this.
I got the same one, dude.
They're phenomenal. I love Universal Audio. I've tried. I have a buddy that has a studio with the Galaxy 32, which is like, it's like a step up for interfaces, and it has like 32-bit recording and whatnot. But it is so complicated and not user-friendly that I was just telling my buddy when he got it, I'm like, why did you get this? It's super cool. Everything you can do with it, but it's so not easy to use. It's just, for anybody, like, Universal Audio is just the best. It comes with a DAW,
Right.
free plugins,
That's
and
the
it
great
sounds
part.
great. It's like, you can't beat it.
It has a lot of facets and a lot of different uses. So I can actually, thankfully to that, with my machine DAW, I am able to input audio through that into machine and sample into machine. So I can go on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and my line goes through that
Oh,
into
nice.
machine.
Okay.
And I can record audio right in.
Oh,
onto
that's
YouTube.
great. That's a good idea.
Yeah, dude, it's great. And
No.
UAD.
Yeah, right?
Just kidding.
Yeah, people sometimes shit on UAD, and I'm just like, why? How could you possibly, like, look at what it is. Look at what they give you when you buy something.
It's okay. Well, I did use the word one that's affordable, and
Uh-huh.
okay, so maybe that wouldn't be the affordable one to recommend, but for functionality and quality,
I mean, the Focusrites are fine for anyone that wants to
yeah,
get something for $150.
for
Like,
starting up,
they're
maybe.
fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Like, you can create on it just as well as you can create on that. I think they come with plugins too. I believe, at least they used to. They're probably not. You're probably relying on your computer and not like a DSP chip in it. I don't think it has anything like
Right.
that. But yeah, if you're just starting out and like you want something that's like super super cheap, you can get that. But I always tell people, like, if you really want to like keep going, then just buy the thing that you can have forever and not have to upgrade. You can get an Apollo
Absolutely.
Twin and not upgrade for 5-6 years and be totally fine.
Ding, because I started with a Focusrite, and so when I look back, it's like I invested in that, and then ended up also investing in this, and it's like
Yeah.
I could have just saved up, waited a little
Uh-huh.
longer, and got that.
Yeah.
You know, and it was way worth the upgrade. When it comes to, and I believe this is what you meant by the DSP, it helps with CPU.
Yeah, it's got Shark chips in it that run the plugins for you.
Yeah.
So if you have a computer that doesn't have that much processing power, you can use the plugins right off that thing, and that will run the plugins for you.
Okay.
So yeah, they have it all figured out with this stuff. I can't wait to see what they do next. Honestly.
Absolutely. See, when it comes to new engineers, what is one common mistake you see them make, and what advice would you give to help them overcome these mistakes that you might see or have heard in a mix?
The biggest things that I could tell any engineer is to not rely on something you don't know anything about, meaning engineering and the computer. What you need to rely on is your ears. So, like, I'll see a lot of guys that'll, when they get a microphone, they think, okay, I need isolation. Let me go into a closet. And they go into a closet and they're getting reflections off of all these walls. If you go into a closet and it has like clothes everywhere, that's actually pretty good. But if you're like sticking it in a corner or something like that because you think that makes it better, it's like, no, that doesn't make it
Trapping
better.
the bass.
Yeah, you're trapping the bass. Like, listen to it. Like,
Your vocal's gonna be thinner.
yes, exactly. So the way I'm speaking right now is my natural voice. If I speak into that corner, it's not going to sound like my natural voice.
Yeah.
So just record yourself wherever you think you would normally, be a regular person and speak, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm sitting in the middle of a room right now. It sounds pretty good. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Not like, well, I saw on YouTube people record in a corner, so I need to go into a corner, or you need to do this weird thing to make it sound this way. It's like, no, just be natural about it. If you want to get good at mixing, listen to music. Like, intently listen to the music, reference the music. So I have a program that I use that I have multiple mixes saved in there of my favorite mixes that of my favorite bands. As I'm mixing, I'm constantly turning them on and listening for a second and going turning them off and going back to mixing. And I'm not like learning anything new. I'm just comparing to what sounds good. And
Tuning your ear for a quick second.
exactly. Like before mixing, people should sit down in front of their speakers or whatever and listen to their favorite songs.
See what it sounds
And
like in their speakers
exactly.
in their room.
Then listen to your song and see how they compare.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way. If you think, okay, well, their vocals aren't as boomy. Mine are boomy. Okay, well, that means you need to get rid of the boom. Where is boom? In the low end. Get rid of that. Listen to the mix of everything. Where do the vocals sit? Where does the kick drum sit? Where does the snare sit? And try to mimic that the best way possible, rather than just watching a YouTube video of a guy that says, well, you need to high pass all the vocals every time. And it always needs to be like this. Your compression always needs to be like this. No, it doesn't. You need to tune it until you think it sounds good, and not, So that's the biggest mistake, is people thinking
Only this much reduction.
exactly. Yeah, is just not following history of music and
It's
listening
like,
to what sounds good.
Slam the compressor until it sounds like the vocal that you want it to sound like.
Yeah.
Through a reference, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen to the reference.
Listen to it. Like listen to how balanced things are and get your vocal there. Whether it's with automation or compression, just do your best to get there.
Ooh, speaking of balance,
Yeah.
let's get technical here.
Sure.
Have you ever heard of, studied, or apply the Fletcher-Munson curve?
I know what that is. Remind me.
It's basically a curve that was developed by a gentleman with the last name Fletcher-Munson.
Uh-huh.
It's a curve that basically says that the dB of higher frequencies are going to sit a lot quieter than the dBs of the lower frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And there's curves specifically to different genres, which I'm pretty sure were implemented into tonal balance
Mm-hmm.
in the curves that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see different curves if you import your own references as well, because those stock curves are pretty generic if you ask me. So if anybody's using tonal balance, my suggestion is definitely importing your own references. But then those curves you see, Fletcher-Munson curves, and if you look it up sometime, and maybe I'll do a screenshot and post it with this video, it's basically, your hi-hat frequencies or your sibilants, dB-wise are going to be quieter because sounds that are higher in frequency are easier for us to hear, and so we turn those down lower. And that's what the Fletcher-Munson curve kind of represents.
Yeah, it must be some correlation between the frequencies and how they work. Like lower frequencies are very omnidirectional, meaning they go everywhere. Higher frequencies typically will go right at you.
Yeah.
They're straight ahead. So, for instance, let's say you're in a house and your wife is playing a song super loud in her bedroom. When you close the door, what do you still hear? The bass, the low end, the bass, because the low end keeps going. The high end does not.
Okay.
So that's probably kind of what he's saying, is that, yes, they are different for every genre, and then you will boost certain things in different genres. Like for a rap song, your bass is going to be super high. It's just, this just is what it is. And for rock, typically, the bass, I think the bass and the high mids will typically be around the same, where the vocal sits and the kick and snare sit. But is that kind of the idea? Is that per genre, frequencies act differently?
Per genre, and then just throughout the spectrum, if you would, from 30,000 down to your 30.
Mm-hmm.
It's upward journey from low.
How we hear them.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I have.
So in order to hear them,
They need to be amplified more.
if they're low end, yes, and then if to hear the higher end, not as loud.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Just from the way the waveform behaves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that.
So that's mixing 101 is spend a lot of time learning leveling.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch a sound until you've got that leveled, everything leveled. I don't know if you do this, but I'm pretty big on range relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the ear is very important. I've got a formula for myself to where my eyes and ears work together.
Mm-hmm.
I always rely on my ear for the final say.
Mm-hmm.
But if my eye is not matching what my ears hear,
Mm-hmm.
then I know there's something that's not right. And the way I've been able to analyze that is through range relationships. I have the Waves F6 plugin. I think it's one of the most precise visual analyzers when it comes to frequency size.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a cool feature on there that outlines the frequencies and prints them in a yellow line. So what I'll do is I'll isolate an instrument. I'll play it by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we're working with a snare. Let's talk mid-range. We're working with a snare and a piano.
Okay.
And I'll play the snare by itself first so that it prints the outline of the snare. I'll then mute that, bring in my piano, and play that to see where it's meeting up in certain ranges, or if not meeting up. And that'll give me an idea of whether or not I can push in that range more, if I need to decrease in that range more.
Okay, so you're just trying to carve out EQ for each instrument.
And when I'm making the moves, though, I'm not looking. It's all about ear. I'm looking away.
Sure.
But I like to find the ranges or specific frequencies with my eye, based upon how they relate to the other instruments playing in that area. It's worked for me. It's a little too visual, I think, for some people, and a lot of people do like the ear, but
there's nothing wrong with visual. Like,
it's trained my ear too, by the way, by doing that.
Like FabFilter makes the Pro Q4 that does that for you. Basically, you can take two instruments, stack them on top of each other, and then put one on analyze, and it'll tell you the frequencies that are fighting between the two instruments.
I got three, so I'm going to have to look
four
into
has that now. So you basically, you click on the plugin, and you click this button at the bottom, and you pick the instrument that you want it to focus on. So say it's the vocal. So you bring up the vocal Q4 in there, and you press to just keep that as the analyzer. And then it'll show you any other track that has Q4 on it, and it'll highlight in red any track that is competing with that vocal. Then you can go back and dip anything that competes with that vocal if it sounds like it's competing with the vocal.
3 does something similar with the masking.
It does that.
But it's not the same from what I'm hearing, because it's telling you...
That does track per track. This gives you all the tracks where you can see them all.
Okay.
Which, yes, Q3 does do that. But
if you put it on your master, Q3, then you can accomplish that. Could you not?
No, because you're not seeing the individual instruments that are doing that. Because you still have to click on each individual one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See how it's like iPhone updates, man. How they get you to buy a new iPhone.
Yeah.
They just save something for the next one.
Yeah.
I mean, could have had that on 3, man. They already knew they were gonna do it.
Yeah.
Maybe they just had to save money to pay a coder, right?
Maybe, but FabFilter does make some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
And there's some plugins that when they come out and you just see how easy they make the process, you're just like, fuck, that's gonna help a lot. And then if it saves you 30 seconds to do something, that 30 seconds adds up. It's like Black Salt Audio has a plugin called the Silencer. It's a gate for drums, and it just makes gating drums so easy. And of course I bought it because I'm sick of, getting my drum take and then finding the threshold of where I need to gate that certain instrument. But it is nice just to have something that that does it quickly for you. Um, yeah, if you got the budget to buy that cool plugin,
Do it.
do it. If it's going to save you time,
Absolutely.
do it,
Do it.
But
Time is money in
having
this
said that, you
world.
don't need the plugin, but if it's going to save you time and
Yeah.
do it. Who cares?
If it advances your workflow, saves
Yeah.
you time saves you money. So
And they do sound good.
So here's a good question.
Sure.
Being that we're in the digital era, um, so mixing for digital release often involves loudness normalization.
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach headroom, dynamic control, and clarity in that context? Because was it negative 12 LUFS is like a standard.
Yeah, it's it depends on the medium that you're delivering it to.
Different mediums, but I think that's YouTube maybe. But
yeah, I think Spotify is negative 14.
Yep.
It's like they want you to deliver it negative 14.
So how do you?
Nobody delivers at negative 14.
Well, they turn it down for you though.
They do, but if you deliver at negative 14 and the guy next to you delivers at negative 7, his mix is going to sound better than yours.
Okay.
It's going to be perceived louder. Even though they still normalize, you're still pushing the peaks down to make it sound different by and then keeping it at whatever you. So all the guys, nobody follows that negative 14 shit.
Okay, good.
Nobody actually does it.
Because I got caught in that rabbit hole early on. I'm like, I can't make this as loud as everybody else's. I don't like this.
Well, some of that's mixing.
It's like we're not putting it on radio anymore. It's not banging in the club. So I have to have it this low for my dynamics to come through the way I would like them to.
Yeah.
And you're saying,
No, you don't have to do that. You have to find that level where the song still sounds good, but unfortunately for today, and be as loud as it possibly can be. And with today's limiters, you can cut off stuff and it still sounds great. Like they have there's this plugin called Gold Clip.
Yeah,
that
I need it.
Is a clipper. You don't need it. It's great.
I need a clipper. I'm clipperless right now.
Well, I mean, Black Salt Audio makes a pretty cheap clipper that is great. It sounds phenomenal. Gold Clip is also awesome. Just the way it works. The way it is limiting and clipping off the sound waves and still sounds good is awesome because typically digital doesn't sound like that. If you're clipping stuff, then that's distortion. But yeah, due to the loudness wars, things have to be loud. And again, if someone is skipping over from your track to a different track, if that track is louder, that's is perceived better.
That's the most important part. I agree with you.
Is perceived better. Does it always make the music sound better? No, definitely not. Preserving those dynamics in some songs, you need to have that. And I hope one day we go back to having dynamics in music again, but modern music, and as an engineer, you have to keep up. Your song has to be loud. So yeah, some of my stuff that I have mastered will go out at like -6, -7, and it sounds fine. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with it.
Are you preserving dynamics, or are you smashing at that point?
Depends on the song. Yeah, it really depends on the song. Like I said, I try to push it as high as I possibly can without audible distortion and to where it still sounds fine. And like I said, modern day plugins can achieve that where your music still sounds great, but it's super, super loud.
Gain staging. I struggled with it for a long time, and I think it's a very important thing when it comes to input volume. I see a lot of people bringing things in super loud, and then when I first started, I didn't think that was okay.
So with recording, when you're recording something, just make sure you're not clipping.
Can we get this from a recording standpoint and a digital standpoint?
Sure.
Okay.
So recording. So when you're recording something, just make sure it's not clipping, because digital clipping is bad. It's distortion. That's all it is, digital clipping. In analog days, when you clip something, it sounded pretty good. Like I will clip my analog stuff all day and it sounds pretty good. It just gives you more saturation. Clipping digital, bad. But after the fact, once you're done recording and you haven't clipped anything, then what you can do, especially in Pro Tools, is to use some sort of trim plugin or do a gain reduction within the actual wave. Um, like I have a thing called in Pro Tools called clip gaining. So basically what I'm doing is after my tracks are recorded, I'm taking the wave file, not the fader, just taking the wave file and turning it down to where I want it to be. Because in Pro Tools, plugins act are best around negative 18 LUFS, basically. Negative 18 is kind of where you want to hit, somewhere around there, because your plugins are going to react the best in that range. And if you have 50 tracks, if you have enough headroom, by the time you hit your master, you're not going to be clipping it because you've taken care of your gain stages before you get to your master. So everything's going to sound better, clearer, and you're not going to be clipping your master bus and then have to turn everything down. Plus, so if once I gain stage everything or clip gain everything to where I need it to be, which is around negative 18, somewhere around there, and visually I just tell people just be tapping the yellow a tiny bit. That's where the track should be. And that's going to give you enough to when you do your processing that it gives you more room, because compression is going to turn your track up.
Yep.
Boosting EQ is going to turn your track up.
Mm-hmm.
So you need that extra space to be able to turn your tracks up and down. If you're completely in the red and you add a compressor on it, you're just going to be adding more audible distortion to it. You're not going to be making good music. Just gain staging is extremely important, extremely, because you are in the digital realm where things have to be a certain level for that plugin to sound a certain way. Having said that, you can also clip a plugin and maybe that's what you're going for and it sounds cool. But yeah, things need to be gain staged a certain way for all your digital things to act the way that they're supposed to.
So that's good to know on the input gain stage, if you will. So you're using a loudness meter, or you're just, like you're saying, hit the yellow.
Yeah. When I'm recording, I just want to. I record fairly
hotter than that.
Yeah, but when I'm coming to mixing, then I'm clip gaining it down a little bit. Again, you can do that with a trim plugin, and just trim that down before you get to your fader.
After that, through each plugin, when you are gain staging, gain matching, some people would call it. How precise are you trying to be when you're gain matching after using a plugin?
Pretty precise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, and I just want to know if it's a technique others use, or if I'm trying to be too technical, is I will bust a VU meter out, and I will check where it was on the VU before that plugin was applied and where it was after.
Yeah, I usually do it with my ears.
Yeah.
And just kind of figure out just a quick turn it on, turn it off, match it, turn it on, turn it off, match it again, and then that's it.
I think I was doing that in my early days, because my ear wasn't as trained. So now what I do is I do A/B it with my ear, but then I like to reference to the VU to tell me how good my ear is working.
You can, yeah. And if you're a little bit over, that's okay, because you gave yourself so much room. Yeah, to begin with.
It's okay to be a little louder even
sometimes. Yeah. And a lot of guys don't clip gain like I do. They'll just turn the faders down.
No, I'm doing that.
Which is fine, but I like to be close to zero as much as possible, because you have that much more room to do what you need to do with it.
Yep.
But there's no wrong way or bad way, but the good thing about clip gaining is you're actually controlling what's going into the plugin. If you're doing it through the fader, that's after the plugin.
Right. And plugins react at a certain input.
They're best at a certain, You can look up each plugin and see exactly where it's optimal at.
There we go.
You can go see what it is. Most are around negative 18.
Okay.
Between 22 and 18 is the golden area.
Yeah, I was thinking I was bringing sounds in way too quiet doing that, Jeff.
No. Record loud and then gain it down. Okay. Because especially if you have outboard preamps. My preamps sound different as I turn them up.
So in a digital sample world, a synthesis world, if you will, too, like when I'm getting my drum samples, they're recorded pretty damn loud, right? And so I would usually, instead of clip gaining, what I was doing is I was bringing my velocity down. But what you're saying to me is, no, let them suckers bang. And then I also because I make beats in Pro Tools and on Machine.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in Machine, there is a trim tool,
Mm-hmm.
and I can take that down.
Just trim it down. It's not going to affect the
Let those
dynamics or anything.
velocities give me the dynamics,
Uh-huh.
then trim it down.
Yeah, you're just turning the waveform down. You're not affecting the way it hits or anything.
Yeah,
You're just turning it down a little bit.
That's where I'm probably missing my in my workflow is thinking that I need my velocities to create my input.
No, yeah, velocities are very, very important.
Yeah.
But you can have the same velocity just at a lower volume.
Yes.
Yeah, and you'll be totally fine.
Butter.
Yeah.
That was my gem that I came for today, everybody. I don't know about y'all, but if you peeped game to that, yes, he is right. Because I've tried both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried, down at 16 to 20, and I've tried -6 and -12.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, it's like, well, when I'm up this high, I can't boost on an EQ as much as I would like to, or I can't, get away with not having as precise of a gain match like we discussed. You can't add a little bit and get a little bit different texture, a little bit more saturation to the sound.
It's the worst feeling in the world where you get done with the mix and you finally go to your master fader and it's just clipping like a motherfucker. And you're like, now I have to turn everything down. And that's going to affect your master bus processing and everything works there. So you're kind of working backwards. So when you're starting a mix, it's very important to not only work on your balance like we talked about, because that's a big thing, balancing everything out, but get your clip gain where it needs to be, then mix.
Okay.
And then everything after that's going to be cake.
So then after that, you're doing some slight fader moves, right, to get your balance, to get your leveling. Because when you're closer to unity or unison, whatever people say, when your faders are at 0, and your sounds are coming in right where they need to be, your moves are smaller on the fader. So, okay.
Yeah, and they decrease as you go down. So as close to 0 that you are, the more movement you have with the faders. As you get lower and lower and lower, a tiny movement is twice as much as it is when you're closer to 0.
Okay, so it's the opposite of what I'm actually thinking.
Yes.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, so the closer you are to 0, like if 0's here,
you can move the fader more.
I can move it more, and I'm getting less dB change. But the further I go down, the more exponential the gain is. So if I go a tiny bit and I'm at the bottom, that's actually a big move compared to at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not linear.
And that's because you're having to bring sounds in a little louder if you start your faders lower, right?
What was that question again?
If you're starting your fader mix with your faders down, that means you probably, to get that desired initial loudness, we're turning your sounds past the -18 to -12, which then would mean you get smaller movements because the sound's already loud.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because you record it a certain way, and then you can just manipulate it after the fact.
So how do you protect your hearing and keep your ears fresh and avoid fatigue in long sessions?
I keep earplugs right next to me. Like when I'm doing guitars, after a couple hours of just hearing blaring, because the band, they record guitars in here with me. The band wants everything loud the entire time, and they're not right in the hot spot because my speakers sound way different back there than they do right here because they're tuned to right here. So right here, I'm getting like the full force of my speakers, and I don't listen loud when it's just me in here. So after like an hour of guitars, I like I'll either walk out of the room and just put these in because they're clear and you can't really see them, or just kind of nonchalantly put them in, and then do the rest of the session. So like my mood will change if my ears are fatigued. I'll slowly become an asshole, and just because you're irritated, when your body's like hungry, hot, cold, you're gonna be irritated.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to my lady about that one.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, babe.
Yeah. So
that makes too much sense.
It fatigues you. So
okay, so that's in a recording scenario. Now let's talk about a mixing scenario after you've actually not had your earplugs in, and you're having to sit with your monitors or headphones on for long hours. How do you go about,
I took a ton of breaks.
Getting your fresh ears.
I took a ton of breaks.
Yeah.
Ton.
What's your frequency of breaks? How often?
Every 45 minutes.
45.
Every 45 minutes, I will take 10 to 20 minutes in silence or just looking at my phone just to reset a little bit. And then, because if you don't take breaks, your mix will sound like shit and it will suffer.
Yeah.
Because after some time, it kind of gives you the, what is that, mermaid effect, where is that old thing about like manatees? What was that? Yeah, like fishermen would be out for a long time and they would see manatees and eventually think that they were beautiful women because that's all they had to look at.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same effect as if you listen to a mix over and over and over again,
You think it sounds
you
good.
think it sounds good. You will think it sounds good. And the next day you'll listen to it and go, what the fuck was that? You need to give yourself breaks. That's part of mixing is breaks.
Yeah.
Lots of breaks, lots of
Absolutely.
refresh. Not only that, but listening on different devices.
Yes.
I don't just mix on these speakers at all. I'm going to these speakers, then I'm going to my VSX headphones, then I'm going to regular headphones, and and then when I print, I listen somewhere else.
Bluetooth speaker, cell phone, car.
Yeah, just gives you different perspective and kind of refreshes your ears a little bit. You need to make it sound different every time you sit back down to mix. Whether that means I'm just turning my volume down a tiny bit for this listening session, or I'm switching speakers or whatever, just to constantly keep new things coming to your brain and keep you engaged with it. Because yeah, I've had so many times where I just blow through a mix after 5 hours and I'm like, I'm done. I listen to it the next day and it's terrible.
Ugh. Yep.
So yeah, you have
breaks,
to take
breaks. Everybody.
It's like treat your ears as if you're like a bodybuilder, you know, like
rest.
You have to rest.
Yeah.
Regenerate. Take care of your ears. And yeah.
In bands, if Jeff's hitting you up on Instagram, he's probably on an ear break.
Probably. Probably. That's what I do.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Just ask a couple quick ones, and then I got a special one here for you, real quick.
Sure.
Man. So this is gonna be like a question I ask everybody. It'll be a different question, but it'll be specific to you, and it's gonna be. I'm gonna give it a name. It's gonna be called "Remember the Date."
Okay.
Jeff, do you remember? And what is in the significance of October 4th, 2018?
October 4th, 2018. Without
cheating, don't look at my phone.
October 4th? I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, it may be the day you made the post about it, but maybe not the specific day that it occurred.
Okay.
But it was the date, at least from what I'm reading here, that Blue Exit Audio got its LLC.
Oh, that might be true. Yeah, that might be true.
Is that the day you applied?
Probably.
Yeah, the day you
that
paid
sounds about right. Yeah, 2018.
Was it 50 back in 2018 too to get that? Yeah,
$50. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I had left a job to try to the first time I tried to do this full time. Yeah, it would have been around that time. Yeah.
See, I'm crafty with this, everybody. Come on. All you engineers, sit down with Mixing Masterclass like our boy Jeff right here. Thank you so much. Blue Exit Audio, located in Mesa, Arizona. Jeff Tretta, everybody. You need to come work with him, especially the live bands. That's his expertise. If you need to check out his samples, you can go to jefftretta.com. That is JEFF
TRETTA.
TRETTA.
Or blueexitaudio.com.
Yep, or just Google search Blue Exit Audio. He'll pop up there as well. And thank you again for being my first interviewee.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mixing Masterclass is ground up from here.
Yeah.
And without you and this first piece of content, it was making it impossible to get people to jump on. And I'm hoping that when you guys see this first interview and take a look at what we have going on, that you'll sit down with me and give me all your gems, and we can talk about your history and journey. But Jeff, greatly appreciative of that.
Was that the special question?
That was the one.
That was the one? Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Yeah, was it pretty good? You like that one?
Yeah, I like that one.
Cool. Yeah. I did that myself.
Good
Me,
yeah,
this guy. No, just kidding.
That's good.
Yeah, but again, check out his work on his website. Look him up on Blue Exit Audio on Google or jefftretta.com, and he's got samples up there. a lot of indie bands, punk, from what I'm hearing,
Mhm.
punk rock.
Mhm.
But if you're a live musician or a live band, again, he said from the startup to the experienced, he's going to get you the greatest sounding record. I agree too, because I come from myself a rock punk
Mhm.
background before I got to the hip hop, like I told you. And what was funny was you saying, I'll wrap this up real quick. Do you play bass like a bass player or like a guitar player? My
Mhm.
first instrument was bass,
Uh-huh.
and I played like a guitar player.
Yeah.
So
That's okay.
thanks, man. Thanks. I swear I said, okay, where's this finger going? Okay, it's
Uh-huh.
going to that fret. Okay, okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was that guy. So
Yeah.
thanks for knocking me.
Sorry.
Don't play like the guitar players, everybody. Learn how to play bass rhythmically and sync up with your drummer. Definitely. Thank you again,
You're
Jeff
welcome.
Tretta from Blue Exit Audio. I am David with Mixing Masterclass, mixingmasterclass.com, Mixing Masterclass on IG, TikTok, and Mixing Master Classes on YouTube. We're out.